Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into the fascinating history and evolution of one of the most recognizable institutions on the entire planet, FC Barcelona. We're going to unpack how this organization evolved from a local football club founded at the turn of the 20th century into a massive global phenomenon. But honestly, even more importantly, we're looking at how it became the profound symbol of an entire culture. It's like a giant moving historical puzzle. And today we're tracing their incredible journey, taking a look at the triumphs, the tragedies, and the core philosophies that made them who they are. So let's kick things off with a question that gets right to the heart of our topic today. How does a local sports team become the voice of an oppressed nation? I mean, think about it for a second. It's a pretty bold premise, right? Most sports teams just represent a city or maybe a region. But very, very few carry the weight of an entire cultural identity on their shoulders, especially through periods of intense political strife and dictatorship. To really understand FC Barcelona, we have to understand that their story is just as much about geopolitics and cultural survival as it is about football. But before we travel back in time, let's just anchor ourselves in the present for a moment. Right now, FC Barcelona is valued at a staggering $5.6 billion. That is massive. It's the third most valuable football club in the world, with an annual turnover of over 800 million euros. We're talking about an incredible global reach, tens of millions of fans, and some of the absolute most lucrative sponsorships in sports history. And yet, despite all of this massive corporate scale, the fundamental structure of the club is still deeply, deeply tied to its historical roots. Which perfectly brings us to their famous motto, Més que en club, which simply means more than a club. Now, this isn't just some catchy marketing slogan. It's actually a structural reality. You see, unlike a lot of modern sporting giants that are owned by billionaires or sovereign wealth funds, FC Barcelona is literally owned and operated entirely by its supporters. The fans, who are known as socios, elect the president and make the major decisions. This kind of democratic structure ensures that the club remains a public trust, completely intertwined with the community it represents. So, to really grasp why Barcelona is more than a club, we absolutely have to understand a crucial concept here, and that is Catalonianism. Basically, this is a movement promoting the distinct political and cultural identity of Catalonia, which is the region in northeastern Spain where Barcelona is located. Historically, the football club evolved into one of the most visible and important symbols of this Catalan identity. For a lot of fans over the decades, being part of the club and going to matches wasn't really just about the game of football itself. It was actually about expressing and preserving a collective identity that was, frankly, often under threat. Section 1. The Foundations, a diverse beginning. Now, despite being the ultimate symbol of Catalonia today, the club was actually founded back in 1899 by a Swiss man named Joan Gamper and a really diverse group of expats. And early on, success on the pitch quickly merged with a major administrative shift. They won their first silverware, the Copa Macaya, in 1902, and then absolutely dominated the Pyrenees Cup between 1910 and 1913. But the real game changer happened around 1908. Gamper stepped up to the presidency to save the financially struggling club and eventually secure their own stadium. Crucially, though, the club officially shifted its language from Castilian Spanish to Catalan. That right there was the exact moment the seeds of their cultural significance were planted, officially aligning the club with the region's heritage. Section 2. Dictatorships and Defiance, the Crucible. As political conflict in Spain started to severely overshadow everyday society, the club entered a really dark period. In 1925, during Primo de Rivera's dictatorship, fans spontaneously jeered the Spanish Royal March. Well, the reprisal was swift. The stadium was closed for 6 months, and Joan Gamper was forced out. Then, tragedy struck even deeper during the Spanish Civil War. In 1936, Falangist soldiers assassinated club president Joseph Sunyol, who was a representative of a pro-independence political party. 2 years later, the Italian Air Force bombed Barcelona, literally destroying the club's offices. The toll this political oppression took on the club and its leadership was just absolutely devastating. And the cultural suppression just kept intensifying under Francisco Franco's regime. Viewed by the regime as a symbol of undisciplined Catalanism, the club faced severe restrictions. As you can see, they were forced to change their original Catalan name, Football Club Barcelona, to the Spanish Club de Football Barcelona, and they were forced to strip the Catalan flag right off their crest. In fact, the Catalan flag was banned outright, and all signs of regional identity were outlawed. It was a very direct, calculated attempt to erase their unique heritage. Of course, this political tension inevitably spilled right onto the pitch in 1943. So after winning a semifinal first leg 3-0 against Real Madrid, Barcelona somehow lost the second leg 11-1. This followed widespread allegations of police threats happening in the locker room right before the game. As the prominent football writer Sid Lowe notes, this specific result cemented a really powerful historical narrative. It identified Madrid as the team of the dictatorship and Barcelona as its victims, which permanently intensified the legendary rivalry we all know today as El Clásico. But despite this incredibly oppressive political climate, the fans found their own quiet, powerful ways to show defiance. Here's a great example. On a rainy Sunday in 1951, a massive tram strike was taking place in the city. After a 2-1 win at their stadium, the entire Barcelona crowd left on foot in the pouring rain, totally refusing to use the trams in solidarity with the striking workers. This completely surprised the Francoist authorities, and it really cemented Barcelona's reputation for many progressive Spaniards as a staunch defender of rights and freedoms. Section 3. The Cruyff Revolution, a catalyst for greatness. Fast forward to the end of the dictatorship, and the club finally restored its Catalan identity. But their footballing identity, well, that was about to be completely revolutionized by one man, Johan Cruyff. He connected with the Barcelona faithful instantly, honestly, well before he even stepped onto the pitch. Signed for a world record fee from Ajax, Cruyff totally won over the Catalan fans when he told the press he purposely chose Barcelona over Real Madrid because he could not, in good conscience, play for a club associated with Francisco Franco. On top of that, he defiantly named his son Jordi after the Catalan Saint George. I mean, this personal defiance instantly endeared him to a fan base that had endured decades of oppression. Cruyff's influence built a comprehensive, lasting club philosophy. It's like a chain reaction. It started with his arrival as a player in 1973, where he immediately helped the club win the league. By 1979, this philosophy took physical shape when they established La Masia, a youth academy actually housed in an old farmhouse right next to the stadium. Then, when Cruyff returned as manager in 1988, he implemented this highly specific, incredibly attractive style of play. He relied heavily on graduates from that very youth academy, which all culminated in his iconic Dream Team, winning Barcelona's very first European Cup at Wembley in 1992. Cruyff literally changed the DNA of the club forever. Section 4. The Modern Era. The Global Giants. So the seeds of resilience planted in that crucible of oppression, mixed with the beautiful footballing philosophy nurtured by La Masia, finally bloomed into an era of just unprecedented success. Just look at the sheer volume of silverware for a second. It's staggering. 29 La Liga titles, a record 32 Copa del Reys, 5 UEFA Champions Leagues, and 4 Cup Winners' Cups. While the club definitely had steady success throughout its history, the early 2000s under the presidency of Joan Laporta sparked an absolutely incredible golden era. With managers like Frank Rijkaard and later Pep Guardiola, the team married this breathtaking attacking football with a fierce independent club identity. It was an emotional high that captivated football fans all over the globe. And the absolute pinnacle of this era, that arrived in 2009. Under manager Pep Guardiola, who, by the way, was a La Masia graduate himself, Barcelona became the very first Spanish club to win the continental treble. That's La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and the Champions League all at once. But they didn't even stop there. They went on to become the first European football club in history to win 6 competitions in a single calendar year. A lot of football experts today consider this specific squad to be the greatest football team of all time. Period. But honestly, if you want the ultimate proof that the Barca way works, look no further than the 2010 Ballon d'Or. In a completely unprecedented event, the top 3 players on the podium for the best football player in the entire world were Lionel Messi, Andres Iniesta, and Xavi. And what do they all have in common? All 3 of these players had come through Barcelona's La Masia Youth Academy. It was just a staggering, undeniable validation of Johan Cruyff's original vision and the club's unwavering commitment to nurturing homegrown talent. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to chew on. How many other sports teams in the world truly embody the soul of an entire culture? FC Barcelona is a sporting giant for sure, but their beautiful football was forged in historical resistance. From the complete suppression of their language and flag to the tragic loss of a president, all the way to the joyful defiance of the Cruyff and Guardiola eras, their story is just absolutely unique. They are a club owned by their people, playing a style of football that is recognized worldwide and acting as the global ambassador for Catalan identity. They truly are, just like the motto says, more than a club.
Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope you walk away with a much deeper appreciation for their incredible journey. See you next time.